All right, greetings, greetings, greetings. I hope everyone is doing well. I am so excited to be with you all because this is one of many potentially, or the beginning of the video series I intend to do on explaining, or not even really explaining, on stating why I am no longer a Christian. And I have before me a few of the books, some of the books that through exposure to them and the wise information and just knowledge that they contain has helped me settle into my awareness, my comprehension. So here we go. Let's see also if this ring will fit back on this finger because this morning it could not. And I always think that's interesting, just a side note. So I don't like to wear rings on my ring finger at all. But the only time that I do is when the finger that the ring is intended to go on, it does not fit there. And this AM, for the first time in weeks, I'd say like 2 weeks, this finger right here would not allow me to put this ring on. And I tried it on the other hand, and it did. It just slides right on. So I have it over here today. For anyone who might have thought, why is the ring on that finger? Well, that's why. Okay, so here we are. I was also told to start with some Truth Oracle cards. So pardon me for reaching across the camera, but we will start with the Truth Oracle deck that I have, just to see where the energy is, where my energy is before getting into the information. So if this is your first time to my channel, this is Vibrational Guidance Over Truth, where we allow the subtle energies, our intuition, the gut feelings, our instincts, to confirm what is and is not in alignment with us in each reading. I have transitioned the way, the method, the message of this channel to be so, in a way, focused on me. Because all tarot readers, all readers of cards, their energy spews out in their interpretation of the cards for the collective, for those joining in and watching their reading. And so I have just said, or been led to say, bump that. I'm not going to lie or put on a fake or a fraud that my interpretation, my past life experiences with certain characters or archetypes does not impact my messages and readings of the cards. So I'm just going to read them for me and allow the spirit guides, the divine realm, to say, hey, be blunt, be transparent, cause some healing for yourself and others by just speaking to your energy as you read. And as others resonate, they connect, they can say, hey, I've been through that, or I know someone who's been through that. Allow them to use their critical thinking skills and state, this is what I would have done if I was in your shoes. Had you asked me for advice, these are things that I would have advised, so on and so forth, so that the plethora of knowledge and wise dominion and awareness about how to navigate certain circumstances in life can be with us all, because it truly, truly is beneficial. So, split of the deck, there is loss of control, reckless derailment and speeding, and then there is torment, anxiety, bondage, depression, and troubled. So I'm gonna keep shuffling. That energy is interesting. And then get into the books. So I want to note that a while ago, I posted a post, the very first post, that said, hey, I'm about to tell everyone why I'm no longer a Christian. And then I think I deleted that post. And the interesting fact about that day is it was the first time, and I'm splitting the deck again, and it was a two-part split. So the first split got loss of control again, and the snake card this time, lie, poison, fertility. And then on the half, there's basement, storage, and imprisonment and damp. And torment is now at the bottom. So when I was originally going to post this message, it was a day where I had started off by listening to another reader. And in her reading, she mentioned how there was a place she really wanted to go to for self-care, was excited about this trip, very beautiful place, outdoor in nature. And she was about to prepare to go, but then things just started happening. And she realized that it was a Mercury retrograde. And so she told herself, you know what? I'm going to have to postpone this, go later after the Mercury retrograde season ends. And she explained her rationale to this was because she has noted that for herself, any transportation plans, long distance movement has always been met with a lot of turbulence. And so overall, if she's able to catch it and realize when a Mercury retrograde is before a move or a plan to travel, she'll reschedule and always work around that time period. And I have never been one at all to allow that type of energy or thinking to influence me, but I just made note of that, that's interesting that that's true for her. And I recorded the message. I was so excited. I did a card reading after I shared out all of these books and said what I wanted to say. And the message would not upload to save my life. It did not. I waited, and tried again, connected to Wi-Fi, unconnected, like I did everything, and it was not going up. And something told me, maybe this is your sign that it's not time for this message to come out yet. So I listened to another tarot reader's reading, and they spoke about how this is the season for my particular sign, of getting messy, but now is not the time to be messy. And some of you are wanting to put out messages that are messy, and just now is not the time. Wait to the end of this Mercury retrograde, and it was going to be around like August or something like that, mid-August, end of August. And so I took that as a confirmation that, hey, it's not time to put this out. I did great. And I was so upset and frustrated that I deleted it. And I did another card reading afterwards, but that message loaded. And then I did another one, and that one loaded. And I did another one. I did 3 after the one I wanted to put up. And all 3 of those had no issues going up. And that was just my confirmation that it was not time. It was not meant to be. But we're going to get into the cards. And then I will tell you about these books here. Last show. All right, spirit guides, ascended masters, my ancestors, what would you like to have come out in these cards for me to expound upon before this reading? What energy would you like to come out from this Revealing the Truth Oracle deck? Okay, what truths would you like to come out for me to speak to concerning my energy before tapping into these books? Okay. So first up we have rest. I've been getting this a lot, that I need to rest. Maybe some of you need to rest. Journey, new beginning. I'm excited about this new beginning and the journey that I am on. And yes, so would love to be in a place like what's on here, with a cup of tea, cappuccino, whatever it is, and resting and pausing. Next, I'm grabbing the addiction card. So maybe some of us have an addiction. It says on here, drug, alcohol, obsession, toxic attachments. I definitely resonate with toxic attachments, just attachments to people, as I'm so comfortable as a hermit that when someone expresses an interest in me, or they feel like they can connect with aspects of my energy, and I respect their effort, because not many people make that type of effort toward me, that ends up, unfortunately, inevitably in the past, having caused me to realize the toxic nature whereby which I opened up that window, that doorway, that gateway of that person, their energy into my life. And then they become obsessive over me. And that happens a lot. Maybe some of you that's happened to, that, man, people just tend to, when they like you, and then liking turns into obsession real quick. And whether it be a female friend, a male friend, a family member, like, I feel like I'm more of a fetish for people than actually a person who is genuinely, unconditionally liked and loved and cared for and respected. How that flew over, and specifically flew towards the left. Maybe it's an addiction with food. It could be addiction with shopping. All right, up next, there is this trash card. So waste, worthless, muse. So there's some waste in all of our lives. I know in my life right now, I'm working towards getting rid of the waste, the toxic eating habits, getting rid of the waste of my bad thinking, the residual mindset that I have set up as my now new foundation from my previous relationship that I'm working on untying all the knots of. Feeling worthless. Yes, I do suffer from feeling worthless from time to time, sometimes a lot more in a week than other weeks. And then being amused, I just spoke to that, feeling as if, for some of you, it might be clutter is your muse. For me, it's feeling as if I'm just what others like to have around while they spew out their negativity or gossip. Now, in these next sets of cards here are all facing what some will call the past. So it's the intuition card. It says sixth sense, intuition, subconscious. Yes, definitely respecting my intuition and being ready with this reading. Next is the key card. Key people, core of the problem, past, yes. And there's a connection here in these colors. This color scheme of this reddish gray and black hue. Loss of control did end up coming out, and we kind of sensed that it was going to come out. Let me turn these back up how they were. Reckless, derailment, speeding. More of that gray and black. Then there's here honor, dignity, works, lineage, awards. More of that red. And then finances, money problem, work, success, fortune. And I like to note how majority of these words are positive or neutral, like success and fortune, and then work, depending on how you feel about the term work, or money problems, negative. But this energy here relates to me how currently I'm looking back on how I did and did not use my intuition. And the key to my intuition was looking at who are the key people in my life, and how am I, or how are they, or how are my choices, or how are their choices, the core of problems that are presenting themselves. In order for me to pass through this doorway, pass through this portal, pass through this frequency, this realm of life that I've been on, I have got to realize that I've lost control. I've been reckless in who I've been around and what I've allowed myself to think. And I've derailed myself from my ultimate, true, high source, will and way path. And I'm speeding through life, just dealing with everything that comes at me, not using my intuition. But when I do take back on my intuition, so the pickup of this red again, and realize that my intuition is the key to everything, it brings me honor. It brings me a sense of dignity that I feel towards myself, like this lightning bolt to the chest. I don't know why, for some reason, I've always been attracted to the idea that I would love to be struck by lightning. Of course, and survive it, but maybe, have some type of gift, ability come as a result of it. Hair all changed, like a pretty silver, white, or gold color, whatever it is. Works is out here twice now, so works and work. And my key to my intuition is that I receive honor and I give honor through my works. It is established within the lineage that I come from and that I am creating. And the awards are abundant because awards is plural. And then that leads into finances. So instead of losing control, once I gain control by putting my intuition first, sticking to the key of realizing the decisions and the people who are impacting and shaping my path besides myself, and I start honoring myself again, the finances flow in. Not from a state of loss of control, but as a result of that work, that dignity, the lineage that I come from, and being true to receiving these awards. So yes, work is a part of this present time. Success is a part of this present, and ultimately, finances to fortune, my finances and how wisely I use them and invest in them, it shows up. And then we're finally ending here with curiosity. And it has on it imagination, try, and desire. Love all of that. Basement. This was in the split deck before. Storage, imprisonment, damp. And it's also got this green hue. So there's some color synchronicities here. This green, I don't know if you can see that very well, but there's some green to the walls in the basement card. And then the green of curiosity. And then guard, protect, escort, and teach. I am a teacher. I've told you all that. Escort has come out before in past readings since I've been doing this, so I'm wondering what that means. Yes, guard myself. Always stay vigilant, my head on a swivel, right and left, and protect myself and protect what it is that I'm working on. So, color synchronicity here. There's some green in each one of these and a bit of yellowish orange with the sunlight. Green bottle, green tree here. Green-ish even on the walls here. This yellow light. It's all very interesting. All right. So these are the cards that have come out. Now let's go ahead and get to the books. So starts with a little challenge. For those of you who might choose to even share this with a friend or a family member who is a Christian or who used to be one, I'm going to share what I've done and what I would encourage you all to do. So when I was a Christian, this was, I would say, like my very first Bible that was like really mine. And being the Virgo that I am, old Bible scholar, like read through this thing cover to cover. Other Bibles that I've had, really love going through and sifting and studying. And my favorite book of the Bible is Proverbs. That's the section that literally has pages torn out of it. Had to be really delicate, stop even highlighting and annotating. Proverbs is my favorite. It has always been, will always be. I think that's the one book, whether you're a Christian or not, everyone could read and glean something from. But I, while a Christian, went through, let's read this. Ooh, this is a little gem that I just found. So 2 Corinthians 5:20. Now then, we are ambassadors for Christ, as though God were pleading through us. We implore you on Christ's behalf, be reconciled to God. That's the New King James Version, it says on that little strip. But there was a time that I was in high school and I was taking an art class elective, and there was a gentleman there who was gay, outwardly very flamboyant, and also a dancer and an actor and a singer and all that stuff. And he knew that I was a Christian. I don't know how. I didn't talk about it fun or anything like that, but he potentially might have asked me. That's how it started. And from that day on, he was damn near borderline bullying me, always sitting at my table. I loved that class because I could just silently work, do whatever the task was that the teacher was assigning. But he was on my ass every day. Questions, challenging, all that type of stuff. And I didn't mind it. I enjoyed having those conversations, and I'm the type of person who knows I'm not the beginning and ending of truth on any subject. So I was really just fine with telling him, you know, I don't know, but I could get back to you with an answer if you would let me. I would get back with you, you know, with an answer if you would let me. And a day came in the future, long past me having my dealings with him, where I decided, you know, I'm going to go through the Bible for myself and I'm going to do a little exercise. And I got 4 different, and this is the suggestion, so I'm just going to put it to you how I suggest that you or a Christian could do it. Get 4 different copies of the Bible. Bibles are cheap. You can get them bad boys on Amazon for real low. Or go to some hotels and get them for free, okay? Get some copies of them Bibles. And with the first Bible, go through it and highlight everything that God says in yellow. Okay, so everything that God says, highlight everything where God said it in yellow. Then get another copy of the Bible and go through with the orange highlighter or whatever highlighter you want and highlight everything Jesus said, all of Jesus's words in orange. Then get another copy of the Bible and go through and highlight everything in green that was words said by women, not about women, not stories about women, but words actually said by women. Highlight all of those in green. And then get a blue highlighter and go through the Bible and highlight everything that was a bad act. Everything that's a bad act, specifically where God authorized the killing of people or the destruction of land, anything where we would say, oh, that is today bad behavior if a tyrant or a dictator were to cause something like that to happen to a small or a large group of people. Highlight all the bad that others could say that God did in blue. Then go through with a pink highlighter and highlight everything bad that the devil said and did, what he wanted to do, what he requested to do. And then finally go through in purple and highlight all of the divine acts, all of the miracles. Okay? So yellow, orange, green, blue, pink, and purple. Irregardless of what colors you use, get 6 different highlighter colors. Go through the Bible and highlight each of these items. And you will be shocked with what you find. Very shocked. And I would even suggest that there should be Bible studies around that. Not where somebody goes through the whole Bible and they do it for you, so you're highlighting what they say based on their interpretation, because the whole point of having discourse and discussion around this exercise is to see what you interpreted as each one of these items, and what is your explanation, what is your justification, what is your synthesis of your faith, of your belief system around the discussions of everything in each one of these colors. Could take years, could take months. But great reading, great critical thinking opportunity. And when I did this, I was still a Christian, and it did not have any wavering effect on my love for Jesus or my love for God. If anything, it made me have stronger faith when I did it. But I will ask, I will implore you, go through your Bible or go through a different series of Bibles and do that thing. So how did it all begin for me? With me not being a Christian. I was at a season of my life where I was not resting a lot. I was taking care of my ex-husband and his daughter, my stepdaughter at the time, and being a good daughter-in-law and all that stuff. I have no family here in the state where I currently reside, which is where I met him. No friends here. It is purely right now work. And with there being no rest, me working 3 part-time jobs, me being the chauffeur, doing all of the cooking, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, including preparation of snacks, doing all of the cleaning of the kitchen, of the bathrooms, of the dining room, of the living room, of the bedrooms, all of the laundry for everyone. And then when the washing machine broke, taking everyone's laundry to the laundromat and then back to the house and putting everything, separating and sorting everything. Doing everything for the car when it needed an oil change, tire rotation, all that stuff, that was me. Running all errands, going to the grocery store, you name it, I was the hands and feet for it. I didn't know that that wasn't right, because the statement that was told to me and by him and his family is, well, this is the lion's share. You shouldn't dare think about complaining, because leave and cleave, leave and cleave. You need to leave and cleave. Scriptural justification. Lion's share meaning all I need to do as the man of the house is sit back and be ready for if and when I need to protect you. Your responsibility is to make everything in the home comfortable. You do everything, and just know that if ever something happens, I'm going to be the one who's doing the protecting of you and putting my life on the line. So you do everything else, so I'm comfortable and feel ready enough and convinced enough by your acts and treatment of me prior to that said moment of needing to grant safety, where there's no doubt in my mind that that's what I want to do. So in this season of not getting a lot of rest, I started playing the lottery, something he always wanted me to do, and I never really did it a lot. And what was he doing? Sitting at home, watching his sports, his baseball, his football, his basketball. When soccer came up, soccer. When tennis came up, tennis. When golf came up, golf. He was also a coach, just watching all sports, but also taking part in his drug of choice, which he spent a lot of his money on. Had cut back on alcohol, but was definitely engaging a lot with his drug of choice. And being a good Christian woman that I was, not casting any judgment, take the stone out your own eye. Don't dare talk about, you know, the splinter in somebody else's eye. That whole type of thing. My mouth shut, just giving grace and love. I forget what the scripture is, but it's also one somewhere in the Bible talking about how, you know, if a woman marries a man and he's not a believer, then he might be convinced through her acts or her actions and eventually could come around. But I was in love this individual, and it was a toxic attachment. And I started playing the lottery because in my mind, I wanted to be the hands and feet of God in any way that I could be. And irregardless of his addictions, if the Lord had blessed me with a large sum of finances, then I definitely, irregardless of my, you know, then husband's wishes, am going to use it for the betterment of the suffering the most, the orphans, the sick and shut in hospitals, the elderly, the widows, like everybody who needs it. That in my eyes, in all honesty, the hypocrisy of church is not showing that many, or potentially even most church leaders are doing those things. I started really seeing them due to how much he was probably not a Christian, as much as he tried to take me away from Christianity and towards some of these other things down here that I'm going to talk about, and wanted me to delve into these things and would lead me down these rabbit holes of things that I'm happy to have learned about. But that was not my focus. And the trash in the church that I saw, especially growing up in my own experiences with church hurt, witnessing church hurt being done to my mother, witnessing church hurt stories from other family members, but still loving God, loving the Lord, loving this idea of congregation, of community, of connection. And it's somewhere in the Bible where that's what we're supposed to do. But it was honestly a waste of time. Another opportunity for money to be sucked out of, in my opinion, the Black community. And I'm speaking mainly from growing up in that experience. So if it applies to other cultures, great and wonderful, but I'm speaking from mine just from here on out, so we all know that as well too, for all future readings. So take what resonates, leave what does not. But wow, you know, giving 10% or whatever you give as an offering, if it's not 10% consistently each paycheck. Is that pastor driving a luxury car? And why are pastors driving luxury cars instead of more gas-friendly, economical cars? Like, stick to the basics. A Honda, Mitsubishi, Toyota, Infiniti. Keep it simple. Keep it simple. Why is there any need for luxury? Question mark. How many of you all are in churches where you can name the homeless shelter that y'all consistently donate portions of the tithes and offerings to each month, and y'all go there after service and prepare the soup, prepare the bread, and pass that out? And donation book bags of sanitary napkins, of socks, of baby wipes, of batteries. Like, where is any of that type of help? I was with the church that did that once, but they stopped. So where were those funds going once that program stopped? Donating books to the elementary schools, to the middle schools, to the high schools. The pastors going into the prisons and praying with the prisoners. Going to what we called old folks' homes, where I'm from, and assisted living, and praying with them and helping them clean up their apartment, and dusting and reaching areas where they cannot to keep their space sanitary and happy and clean. Going and getting, if they have a dog, that heavy ass bag of dog food for them consistently. Like, where was that being done? Helping, you know, youth with building resumes and interviews and doing mock interviews. Mentoring those who you know are in families that live in very turbulent areas where selling drugs and being a part of a gang is a replacement for a lack of connection and community. Where are the ministers, the pastors, the priests, any member of clergy, the deacons, the deaconesses? Where is the evidence of the leadership going out and showing that they are the hands and the feet of God in the communities that need that the most? And when I realized that's not what's happening, everybody is working on this televangelism, working on their choir, having the best songs, the robes, what color is the cloth over the cushions on the pew seats, where's the projector, the Easter program, the Christmas program. Only thing that's really done is an angel tree for the children in the church. Some churches will have a mission trip, but again, I understand that international reach and international support is a good thing. But what about all the help that is needed right there around you? Like, why isn't there a priority to help mend and address the immediate needs of the community that you reside in, that you drive through to get to your church and to your home, or that you are aware of in your state that can benefit from your connection with God and services? So that was frustrating to me. And I started saying, Lord, I need to win the lottery. I've had family members tell me that they've won the lottery many times in various sizes, but almost always won every time they play my birthday and other things that are numerically aligned with me. And I started winning, but it was never always the correct arrangement. And it was getting frustrating. And I remember around winter break, top of the new year, I just was fed up because I wanted that money, unbeknownst to me then, definitely confirmingly known now, as a way out of that relationship. Irregardless of how much he might have tried to have said that I should split and share with him due to winning while, married to him, I didn't care about that. Subconsciously, these thoughts were even there. I just knew I wanted the opportunity to have those funds and to help. But then there's this other part of me. And this other part of me, honestly, was always conflicting with this whole Jesus narrative, because there's a book out there, I think it's like the 21 Jesus Christ before Jesus is a real thing. There were many other Jesuses before the person Jesus Christ in the Bible who actually lived in history. And there's primary source evidence for these people on earth. And there's no primary source evidence at all about this person in this book whose name is Jesus Christ. His birthday ain't even got right. His birthday is a dub of a pagan holiday. Let that sink in real quick. So with my massive studies in African and African American and African diasporic history, and looking at the histories of the original people of each continent, the deeply melanated people like the Olmecs of the Americas, like the Aborigines of Australia, all of that, it even took me down my own rabbit hole path of, if you use your intuition, something's not right here. Because all of these religions, especially for when I as a history teacher teach world history, all of these religions, like this book title here says, are man-made. This book is called Man's Religion. All of the major religions are man-made. Islam is credited from coming from Muhammad, a man. Buddhism, from a dude named Buddha. Judaism, starting with shouty man named Abraham. Christianity, starting from dude named Jesus Christ, who was a Jew, but was so talking about the hypocrisy and the manipulation and the injustice done to both Jewish people and Gentiles, whole new version started up. Christianity. And the list goes on and on and on about how each of these major religions all, interestingly, started around the same time, somewhere between 2,000 to maybe 4,000 years ago. Nobody really likes to touch on the history of the Sumerians and the Babylonians with Enki and Il in them. Nobody really wants to talk about Aset and Asar and Ra. Nobody really likes to discuss the polytheistic multiple gods narrative, or even the narrative of Mother Gaia, Mother Earth, and how Earth as mother, womb, soil, darkness, brownness, gets seeded by what? Air god, rain, water god, seeding her and planting into her, and them co-creating together. Him being the electricity, the charge, the lightning. So if we were to put elements to this narrative, feminine being earth, soil, sometimes could even say earth as water, thinking about the water breaking upon birth, masculine being electricity, lightning bolt, that sperm being the charge for hitting the egg, and also water coming down, his sperm ejaculation. A lot to connect there. How the majority of the belief systems on earth before this patrilineal flip, or we could say patriarchal flip, almost all lineages were tied through the mother. Judaism, passed down through the mother. Many African traditions, passed down through the mother. So many other cultures, you get it as a result of your mother. But somehow, somewhere along the way, somebody, cough, cough, hint, hint, definitely a masculine, felt some type of way, and even that got flipped. And the people who started all these religions are what? Masculine. And all the gods of each of these religions are purely and only what? Masculine. So my intuition told me that something was off, because I had studied primary sources and something was not adding up. I comprehended my belief, my faith strong. I can hold two truths in me at the same time, but something wasn't adding up. And for me, the key was, all I'm able to know is what has been printed. And I came across this gentleman that was damn near forced down my throat by my ex-husband and my mother at the same time. Every day, they were both sending me videos, asking me if I had seen this video by a particular gentleman whose name was, or is, Ray Hagans. And I started listening to him, got to the point where every morning, my then husband and I worked at a school that was an hour and 30 minutes away from where we lived. And so, and me driving the hour and 30 minutes there every morning and the hour and 30 minutes back, I was listening to each of his videos. Then I started listening to people like Dr. Africa. Then I started listening to people like Dr. Sabi, and just kept on going with this genre of people with information that I had not previously been exposed to, or I have been exposed to, but they were connecting dots in ways that I had never connected them. And I started remembering that, hey, these are key people that hold knowledge and information that is true. And the core of the problem is I have not had exposure to these type of people before, and so I'm going to pass up on thinking that what I have been raised in is the only truth that is out there. And I'm going to hold two truths in me at the same time. I'm going to hold both these truths in me. But that caused me to, in many ways, lose control. On the one part, I'm holding on to my faith. It's helping me justify taking this emotional abuse, this psychological abuse, this lifestyle with my then husband that was so toxic and so wrong. On the other side, I was losing control as far as, well, what else is true? Because these things that have come out are true. I'm finding these books for myself that these other key individuals that I'm now being exposed to are talking about. And he who controls the printed page controls the thinking of the age is something that Ray Hagan says a lot. And that began to resonate even more. So even now I'm thinking to myself, I've lost control because the only thing I'm allowing myself to believe are things that have been printed. But there is more to know outside of printed truth, because printed truth is just trying to adjust and cause me to accept a perspective that is someone else's perception of the truth. And I began to allow myself to be derailed. And I was speeding through it, speeding through. During COVID, learned and got exposed to a guy named Young Pharaoh. Ex-husband and I damn near went through, watched every single one. As soon as a new one came up, we were watching it. New TV shows come up, or TV shows that I had never been exposed to that I loved. Ancient Aliens, started watching all of those, digesting, ingesting all of it. Great series, don't get me wrong. Can't wait to invest in them and have all of them for myself to rewatch every episode. But it was just a lot. Taking in Ray Hagan's, taking in Dr. Africa, taking in so many books. Young Pharaoh, Dr. Sabi, and I was feeling out of control. I was knowing so much and wondering, where does that all fit in with this? And then coming into the learning due to my ex-husband and some of these speakers about the Masons. Ain't never thought of, ever heard of, ain't ever been interested in anything with a Mason. But learning about Masons. And then ex-husband wanted me to get into things like the forbidden knowledge and superstitions and charms, divination, and what is black magic. And why is black magic called black magic versus white magic? And then this is a definite fast forward. I was in a family member's house, and I love books, and they all know this. So anytime I come across books, I just ask for them. And 9 times out of 10, they've just been sitting on their shelves, and they don't plan on doing anything with it. And so I just asked for books, and they're like, yeah, go on in the kitchen, get you a brown paper bag, or get you some bags or a crate if you can find one, and get as many books as you want off the bookshelf. And so I do. I did. I always do. And one evening, I was in a particular family member's house, came across this book, and because of seeing this book and having purchased this book and other books a long time ago, I, of course, got on my whole spiel, played a part, played a role. Hey, can I get some books off the bookshelf? Sure, of course you can. You know the deal. Go get it, and definitely make sure I hid this in between another one and sets of other books, and I took this bad boy out of there. Interestingly, I got phone calls galore after leaving and getting out of that state of male family members and that particular other family member asking me, hey, can you look through the books that you took and see if you have a book that is small and dark navy blue that you might have accidentally also picked up? Yeah, I got that one. I got it. But I say all this to say that I really did try, and I fought hard, irregardless of all the information that was coming across to me, to hold on to the honor that I have been taught to stay a good Christian, faith-based, believe beyond belief, Noah's Ark real, old dude in the whale's belly real, Sodom and Gomorrah real, Jesus did all these miracles, real believing type of girl, type of person. I tried to, but the works of others and my lineage and something in my bones, something in my DNA telling me that this ain't real, this ain't connecting, it was starting to hurt me and get at me. So then I chose to, with my finances, look at others' works that were deemed successful according to ratings. And these people were very much so fortunate and wealthy in some ways, whether it be information or finances. So I started learning about, more so after leaving my ex-husband. That's when it really happened. Learning about the occult. Let me just turn this to the side. Learning about the occult. Learning about witches and witchcraft in the Wicca. Learning more about the Vatican. Learning more about different world religions. Learning more about man's religions. Learning more about, through this encyclopedia of American religious histories and different cults that were here. Other books like Know Thyself. And even this one, License to You Know What. And this is a Christian book. So I'm just going to show these books and get ready to close out with Curiosity Basement and On Guard. So some of the books that have helped me. Here we go, American Religious History. I just want you all to see each of these. Man's Religions. Okay, not a hoarder of information at all. Encyclopedia Britannica's World Religions book. We have here Inside the Vatican, of course, and also watching other movies and piecing things together in movies. I forget who it was who said it in my life once, that TV shows explain to you things that the government and the rulers of the world and the 3D matrix, TV shows give you their justification of why they do what they did. They need you to sit with grasping their psyche and their mentality and their explanations of things, their justifications. On the other hand, movies just tell you what it is that has happened. All right, so this is the first pile that I'm going to show. And again, you can check out some of these, buy some of these, go to your local library if they have these, request these, do your own reading. And again, reading none of these books at all changed my mind. None of these books was the end all be all. But they helped me, as I love to be, more well-rounded, respectful for other people's cultures. Different doesn't mean bad, different means different. And at some point in time, all of this was real. For example, with witches. Soups, in and of themselves, using bones or bone broth, putting in roots and herbs, potentially even putting in meat, the carcass of dead animals, then adding in life, actual vegetables. That is a witch's brew. So anybody out here ever had a soup, making soup, enjoying soup, love soup? I have always been pro soup. As much as possible, my life is smoothies and salads and smooths. Call me the 3 S's, because that is my jam. Like, that's my thing. That is witchcraft. You are setting an intention through the ingredients that you are mixing to receive certain nutritional aspects from each of those elements within yourself. And for those of you who pray when you cook, you pray when you do things, you pray in general, you say mantras in general, you do affirmations in general. All of those things are positive things, but guess what they do? Those are all forms of spells. All of them are forms of spells. If you believe in the scripture where it says where 2 or more come together, oh, and I gotta share this. Oh, my eggs and my ovaries on my right side are saying, slow down, girl. You're going too fast. They just fluttered. Yeah, let me go ahead and speak to that. Where 2 or more are gathered together in my name. What it is they asked for, they got it. What is 2 or more together? That's like a coven, y'all. That's a coven. That is people in agreement, symbolically before each other in a similar position, standing, holding hands, kneeling, bowed hands, hands in a certain position, body in a certain position, your mind, your soul, your emotions, and your words are all on the same page about what one individual or the collective of individuals is petitioning an unseen force for. What else is that? And don't try to differentiate and say, well, one is praying to God and one is praying to the devil. Not everybody in occult and witchcraft pagan past is dealing with the devil. Some are working with the energy of water. When there's a drought, what's wrong with that? Some are working with fire and how fires are needed to help prevent other fires. Look at Native American cultures, which the European settlers, or we could say invaders, when they came over here, didn't pay attention to as they were dealing with issues of forest fires. And coming to learn that, yes, sometimes you got to set a controlled fire in order to keep other fires from coming in or spreading further past a certain borderline. But the two or three coming together. I'm going to speak to that with the key card. One evening while I was cleaning up a place, because the main job I had while with my ex-husband was as a janitor. So I would, of course, get up early, warm the car, prepare breakfast and lunch, marinate whatever needed to be marinated for dinner, shower, all that stuff, get everything ready, drive him to work, drive myself to work, pick him up, come home, cook dinner, tidy up, leave to go to the part-time job, which was being a janitor and cleaning several buildings that through a company had been contracted and given to me. And on one of these said evenings, I got a phone call towards the end of I think it was actually towards the end of my shift, the building that was closest home, from his mom asking me, would I divorce him? And I was so offended and so appalled. Of course, saying, no, why would you ask me something like that? That hurts my feelings. I love him for as much as we've been through. Do you think I would be doing all of this, paying off all of his debts, making all this money, and putting it towards a goal to start a family, to have a family? Like, why would you ask me that? And you know I've been doing this, taking care of him, putting up with everything I've been putting up with because I love him. And honestly, I love y'all. That's what I'm supposed to be doing. And of course, in hindsight, I didn't realize this at the time, but was told by other family members when I shared this specific moment with them that, girl, you know, nowhere in the world his mom would have asked you for a divorce without talking to him first. Of course, learning that in hindsight. But something that stuck out in that conversation was she specifically said, yeah, I've been talking with my sisters and been talking with my cousins and have been talking with, and then she mentioned my ex-husband's first wife name. And for some reason, the scripture that kept on coming up in my head while she said that and afterwards, while I was walking to the car and just like, I can't believe this mess, was the scripture of when two or more gather together, when two or more gather together. And I'm thinking, but I don't want to call my mom or my sister and ask them to pray with me on this matter. And that wasn't even scratching that itch, because what ended up resonating with me when I sat down in the car and I was still was, if two or more can come together and pray for something good to happen in somebody's life, two or more can also come together and pray for the demise and the downfall of things in someone's life to get the outcome that they want. And from then on, that moment on, I could definitely say my eyes opened in a much broader way to what was going on that I was not able to see in the background. I just started noticing things. And emotionally, I did not lose control. If anything, all I did was I lost control of being able to connect the dots and see facts for facts. I've always been a more head over heart person, always more logical, very much so less emotional, almost always called cold Some of you might resonate with that and some of the things I've been saying. But when I was told to, be more feminine and be emotional, be a woman, that meant to them, projecting onto me, put the logic to the side, just do emotionally what he wants and what he needs, or what other typical women in your position would do, not like you. Like when people say, I'm not going to get into that right now, but here we go. Other books that were helpful. Love this one, Returning to Oneness. And I'm just going to make sure I definitely show the author's name. So if you want to pause it to find these for yourself. And then Reiki. And when I got into this, I really enjoyed it because it connected with me on a deep level to the extent that I'm aware that Earth has electrical lines, electrical currents above it and in it and on it. That's how our radio waves, our TVs, our cell phones work. I mean, think about it. A TV, no, let's do a cell phone. A cell phone is literally a box, a gadget, an inanimate piece of matter that you press keys on. And it, without being connected with the line, invisibly connects with a wavelength in the air that you cannot see and allows what you say right here in this room to be heard through a box without a cord on it to a person in another room. All of that being transmitted over frequency airwaves that are invisible to the naked eye. You picking up what I'm saying? I got to stop right there. So I really, when getting into more Eastern cultures and learning about their belief systems in the past, when Reiki came up and crystals and stones, I gravitated to that so much because part of the foundational background of these are, and I'm just going to get a few of these crystals and hold them up on the screen to show you, is these crystals represent, or actually are, if you're able to invest in real ones and know that you have real ones, they are all sitting, steeping, if you will, in earth soil. And as those currents, those electrical currents, go around earth, they are hitting these stones. And the stones get their hue. They get their hue, their energetic charge, their alchemical energetic ability to heal based on the depth of soil that they were in and the current that was hitting them and the time of year that they were there. They all have their own medicinal, electronic healing powers. And I wish I had brought the one with me that I have in my room. I always keep it as proof. So I had a crystal similar to this one, like a quartz. And it was the first time I had left my ex-husband. I think I indicated that I had left him 2 times before the last time. 3rd time's a charm. And the second time that I left him, I had purchased my first ever crystal like this. And every day, I had that crystal in my hand every moment of the day. I don't know how. I slept with it always in my hand. I did everything with it in the opposite hand. I taught with it always. Nobody knew. It was very, very small. And it was also very thin and like this. But I had that crystal with me. And every time I prayed, every time anything would come up, I was always, not unbeknownst to me, sowing my intention, what I needed in that crystal. And at the end of that season in my life, right before he and I got back together, something told me to look at the crystal that's in your hand. That crystal, and I kid you not, if I go get it right now, actually I might go get it, is clear. All of these fractals on the inside, my energy had worked its way so much through all that prayer, all that belief, all that intention, all that faith, that it helped me bring about the outcome that I desired. Not necessarily that I should have had, because I should not have been desiring to be back in union with him. But it brought it back. So give me a second. I'm going to do like last time. I'm going to count down from 15, and then I will be right back in 15 or less, okay? 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, here it is. Do y'all see how clear that is? You see how there's nothing. There is nothing in here. It just looks like it's straight up clear. Straight up clear. There is nothing to this thing. You can see through it. It looked like this with all this stuff on the inside of it. That's what I mean by it converted me to knowing, okay, so there is something to this. Crystals are real and they work. Studying and learning about them and their power is beneficial. And what they can do. And what they can charge. And I keep this one because I've always sat it in windowsills. People talk about, charging your crystals and such. I've always sat it in the windowsill, had it in the windowsill so that it could recharge, hopefully, get its fractals and stuff back. And I have had some crystals that have done that have gone and then have been able to be recharged in moonlight, full 28-day moon cycle being in the windowsill and the sun. But this one will never, because it's my proof of you did that. You transmuted that energy. You transformed your thinking and your being on such a deep wavelength that you physically altered and changed the composition of another piece of matter until you got what you desired to get. So other books, we have Signs and Symbols, because be careful, we have all been taught certain symbols according to the construct of what the foundational, you could say, matrix creators of this society want us to think and believe about certain symbols. Religious groups and all the banned books that have been suppressed on different religious groups. Historical Dictionary of Taoism. I remember I was in high school. First time I was in the grocery store, my mom sent me in to get something for a school event. It might have been like whipped cream and some little shortcakes and some strawberries or something. And so I'm in there getting, and this white lady comes up to me and she's like, "Are you a believer in God? Do you believe in the oneness of the universe in the way?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And I said, "Yeah," especially because she said God, but then with the whole oneness in the way thing, I'm like, cool, if that's your interpretation of, ham, bam, boogie, get jiggy with it, go down. And then she started saying, I'm a Taoist, I'm Tao. And that was my first exposure to this word Taoism, which was pronounced like Taoism, but it's with a T. This encyclopedia on Eastern philosophy and religion, Buddhism, Taoism, Zen, and Hinduism, very enlightening for me. The similarities of all of these, the men and their thinking that started these. Then another one that came from influence of my mother. She was a part of this group, or either still is, and they're reading different knowledge-based books. You can see how thick this bad boy is. And she's like, "Girl, there's this book, I know you love books. You be reading you some books, but you're not supposed to read it by yourself. You're supposed to go through and read it with the community and the collective. And when you get it, it comes with its own instructions of what you are and you are not supposed to do. Like you're not supposed to write in it, highlight in it, all that type of stuff. It's got, for example, here's this page, like the laws of the universe and stuff like that." So I was like, oh my goodness, I got to get my hands on this. She's like, "But it's expensive." And unbeknownst to her, I don't care what it is. You tell me it's a gem and it's a goody booty, I'm going to get my hands on it. So I got that bad boy. Very, very interesting book. You'd have to read it for yourself to really know. I feel like it's emergence between almost all the major world religions, but of course, this group wants their own stamp on it. Then I met a woman who is a believer in the Baha'i faith, which is like a runoff of Islam. And they got the most beautiful tall building with gold crusted everything in Israel. I've also been to Palestine/Israel, just so we can put that out there as well. But yeah. And once when I was, or not once, but yes, in one conversation when I was taking my stepdaughter out, and we didn't use those terms, stepdaughter, at all, like ever, from the beginning to the end. It was probably one conversation in the beginning where we used terms like stepdaughter and stepmother, and the answer was always no in the beginning. And it just stayed that way. But we used to have these date nights. So whenever it was my ex-husband's time to have his daughter, because they had joint custody, that Friday when we picked her up from school at the beginning of our session to have her, it was always date night with me. And so I'd ask her where she wanted to go. We'd go there. We'd go to like a bouncy house or to the park, and she'd just run herself rugged and happy, get her favorite meal she wanted, come home, watch her show, take her bubble bath with her toys, and then of course snuggle on up for getting in bed. And her favorite place was Olive Garden for a very long time. So we'd always go to Olive Garden. And there was this one lady, of course, when you go somewhere a lot, the waiters and waitresses get to know you. One waitress there, real cool lady. I liked her a lot. Hunter, I believe was her name. Love that word, that name, Hunter. Like how I love dark hunter green. And she saw how I was getting into my crystals, how I wear my head wrap. I never wear my hair out. I only wear it out twice a year, once at graduation and once at prom. Other than that, my hair is wrapped up the entire year. And she started asking me, you know, what I knew about, you know, zodiac signs and astrology and astronomy and the Greek and Roman and all that type of stuff. And I shared with her that, you know, I knew a little, but I was interested in learning. And she told me about this book about the secret language of birthdays. And we, you know, got so much in conversations. I pulled it up on my phone and I was like, I'm going to buy that. I'm going to invest in that. And boy, did I, for every day of the year. And I'm just going to take a sneak peek at it. Ooh, yeah. For every day of the year, it breaks you down, baby. It breaks you all the way down. Most amazing book. Highly, highly recommend it. Get this just to, you know, read the information on everybody in your family, everybody in your friend group, and you will be surprised at how accurate and on point this is. And I'm going to even give you a little bit of history behind this that's connected to how I can't completely accept it because of the other rabbit holes I've been down in academia. And then later on, a few years later, I was looking on Amazon again and saw that it had another one, not just the secret language of birthdays, but there's the secret language of relationships. And for doggone every single type of masculine sign for every day of the year, paired with every other type of feminine sign for every other day of the year. It gives you the breakdown of that relationship. Highly, 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 highly recommend. So these books were extremely helpful. Now to explain the history of these, I went to the African American History Museum in DC, and once at the beginning they had this exhibit up about the history of astronomy and astrology and its African roots. And I love teaching this in my class because essentially, to put it all in a nutshell, a long time ago, with the recording of history, historians in different communities would note how people born at certain times of years consistently had similar traits, similar habits, similar interests, similar attributes. And with that being recorded across time, it was noted how people born from this time to this time are like this time to this time are like this. And of course, they started getting names all the way down to the point where in certain cultures, they would tell you, when we get into the history of why were there arranged marriages, in many cultures, arranged marriages were set up so that you did not marry someone of the wrong sign who you're not compatible with. It might be fiery in the beginning, but y'all are not compatible on a deep enough long-term level to make this work. And in order for the community to have stability, it might not be what you want, boo-boo. It might not be what you want, sir. But this thing right here, it's going to be temporary. The fires are going to be washed out, flared out, dried out. we're going to arrange your marriage. And some cultures will give you options, but it's all going to be options of people who were born under the sun and the moon and the time of the year that is compatible with you. So for example, I am an earth sign, a Virgo. Other earth signs are Capricorns and Taurus. In terms of being in a relationship that is on all levels balanced and also romantic, do best with other earth signs. Capricorn is usually my number one choice. I don't know what it's like to be with a Taurus, but Taurus would be my number two choice. So anyone comes up to me who is a fire sign, fire scorching earth, not really an interest to me. A water sign, very, very emotional. Like, I need you to have it together a little bit more. And again, I'm projecting right now stereotypical descriptions of these other people because I've never been in a relationship with them before. But having worked with these types of people and knowing their birthdays, it really tells a lot like how it could be or might be if we were, together. So let me just get through the rest of these books. Again, I've already showed those three. The other one, read in my master's program, The Universe Next Door. And of course, into my own individual studies, we have here the Encyclopedia of Spirits. And I also have the book on spell books. This one is so interesting. I'd love to dive into this one with you all, but I think that might be a separate video. The book on, again, different Greek myths. And noting how, and here's the author's name up at the top. Like, these creatures, half human, half animal, is a real thing. That's a real history. People were not illustrating things from their imagination. They were illustrating things that were actually real. Catch that. That's why you still have people to this day who look like the remnants of the ancestral line that they come from. Some people really do look like fairies. Some people really do have webbed fingers to have come from a lineage of mermaids. Some people do look like gargoyles and giants and Nephilims. Like, that's a real thing. I can't tell you how many times it's come across my feed of, doesn't this person look like, and daggone it, that man look just like an elf. Them ears is all elf, them nose, them eyes is elf. And they'll have like 4 or 5 different cultures up of an Asian dude, an African dude, a Hispanic dude, a black dude, a white dude, and all of them got the same phenotype build. They just come from different backgrounds, but they all got that similar makeup. And so I'll close with this. I'm thankful that my entire life I've been curious. Irregardless of how I've been raised, I've had a passion for learning, a passion for knowing about and comprehending other realms and other people with a reverence and a respect that different doesn't mean bad, different just means different. I love all sorts of different food. My favorite foods, Jamaican, Caribbean, African, Indian, Asian, Hispanic cuisine. I like me some Italian, Greek cuisine too. But I just know that my imagination runs wild, y'all. It always has. And I love trying. That's putting that effort in, practicing. It's like one of a kind feeling for me to be in that building, practicing phase. And that's my desire. It's a huge part of me. But I have been afraid of in the past, I don't want to say I am afraid of, but I have been afraid of in the past, all this learning getting me in trouble. That somebody wants to store me away because I'm speaking my truth too much. And I have had dreams. I think I'm going to close with this. I have had dreams and visions. My very first vision I had was in a church when I was a little girl, elementary school, coming out of a revival. And everybody was out, almost everyone had left, and I was just sitting in the church, stained glass windows, sun starting to go down, and I'm just sitting in the pew, and there are a few other youth in the sanctuary with me. And I don't know how it happened, but I just saw something. And what I saw is this large field, a whole bunch of trees in the foreground going all the way around this big old circular field. Field is filled, the field, F-I-E-L-D, is filled, F-I-L-L-E-D, with people. People all around, shoulder to shoulder. And it's like sunset time, so similar time of day as in the church. But at the very top of the field, but not all the way at the tree line, there was this platform. And there was this image, not image, really, what could I say? I don't know what it's called for some reason. I'm blanking on it. The thing that they would use, like the gallows, to hang you. And there was also a guillotine. So it was like a gallows for someone being hung, and a guillotine was there. And I was on that platform, and there were 2 or 3 other people there, and I was being accused of things like telling the truth, telling a truth, helping people in a way that was not in alignment or that was not right. I should not have been speaking about those things. That part was very clear. And it wasn't to the point where I could live amongst people and just have my tongue cut out, but I was going to have to die. And irregardless of all the people in the crowd having some type of positive effect, if something I had done or helped somebody and their family member, they were all there to lay witness silently that this type of thing is unacceptable and this is how it's going to be dealt with. And whether this was a dream, it wasn't a dream again because I was awake. So like a vision of me during like the purga, like during the witch hunts, and I was deemed a witch because of being a free speaking woman, and I was being killed publicly as a result at the gallows, which they realized, gallows is not going to be good enough because she could come back to life. She could raise from the dead, come back from beneath the soil. The soil is something she works with, so we can't put her in the soil, so we got to cut her head off. And I remember I saw a masculine at the very back. I don't know how. Saw him, and it was like he was my partner, my lover, my best friend. And I cried out as if like, you got to speak up for me. You got to say something. He did not. Neither did any of those faces or eyes that somehow I knew, and they all recognized me in a way. Nobody said anything. And that was it. And that vision, having it at such a young age, and I remember sharing it with one of the other youth that were in there with me, because I got up immediately, and my heart was pounding, and I had sweats under my arms and in my groin and every crack, everywhere I did, and I had to go to the bathroom. And on my way out, I explained this dream to them, and no one really talked to me ever about it ever again. But there's this back in my mind fear of imprisonment, being put away or being stored away in some type of uncomfortable space because of what I know or wanting to teach what I know. And so in order to not get put there and still enjoy my curiosity, I've just got to guard myself, guard my tongue. There's a scripture that says, guard your heart above all else, for out of it flows the issues of life. I don't believe that. Why is my heart flowing out the issues and not flowing out the love, flowing out the solving of problems? I am here to protect. I am here to escort souls. I am here to teach. That is what I know part of my purpose and my mission and my passion is for being here this time around in life. However it was that the wheel of life and karma says I didn't do it right enough last time or the other times that I did it, so I got a chance to come back around this time. All right, I'm here and I'm working on it. I'm actively working on it. But yeah, maybe some of you can resonate with some of that. I hope you can. If you don't, that's fine. And maybe this was just for entertainment. But this is just part 1 of the series, because I know I intend to do another one where I go a little deeper into where I am now with my belief system and where I am as it pertains to faith and spirit and ancestors and the esoteric, occult, pagan past, Masonic past, and also the historical connection with all these things. Have a good one.